Hi, I'm Deborah McCusker, and I am your instructor for Net 125, Intro to Networks. And in this little video, I'd like to go over a portion of the topics that you're going to find in Chapter 1 of our study, Exploring the Network. And specifically, I want to talk about components of the network. So you can see on the screen a diagram, and in the reading we learned that the network infrastructure contains three main categories of network components. So you can see that we have devices. Those are both the end devices on the far left and the far right. Those are the originators and recipients of data across the network. And then we have also something called intermediary devices. And you'll find out that those devices handle the routing of traffic, possibly re-amplification of signals, and directing, in the case of the switch, the data to the appropriate end device via its hardware address. So let's take a look at move forward if we can. At the some end devices, we're going to see that in a local area network, so that acronym LAN, you're going to see a lot in the study of networking. We have office equipment, PCs, servers, possibly even IP phones. So those are based on the internet protocol. And as I mentioned, the intermediary devices. So we have a wireless router, a multi-layer switch, a firewall appliance. Firewalls will help us either permit or deny the flow of data based on our security settings. Routers help to choose which pathway the data traverses. LAN switch may be used to, again, direct data to the appropriate end device. And then, of course, we have network media. So the media is the either physical or perhaps ethereal, as in wireless channel over which the message travels from its source to its destination. So you can see that there are lots of different substrates that are being developed that can carry data. Traditionally, we have copper wire, RJ45 jacks for our Ethernet cables, but we also have higher speed transmissions over fiber optic, and more popular, we're seeing various wireless methods of communication. When we design a network, we need a way to document, to create the specification of what that network is going to look like. And as in any kind of communication, we need some standard notations so that what we put on paper or in an electronic document can be interpreted correctly by another person that is reading our document. So what we can see on the screen now are some of the standard notations for end devices, intermediary devices, and network media. You see the red lightning bolt type figure here. That's used for wide area network transmission, and the local area network is usually drawn with a black line, and you can see that the wireless media sort of looks like a DNA strand. So I talked about network configurations and network designs. Again, we need to use some common drawing tools, methods, in order that those that read our documents can understand them. So topology diagrams are really something that you should understand, and it's a mandatory skill for anyone working with a network. There are physical topologies and logical topologies. And sometimes the diagrams look pretty close to one another, but what you'll find out soon is that the physical topology, the clue is that exact geographic or physical locations are noted in the diagram. So we can see that switch 3 is in room 2124 on rack 1, shelf 1, and classrooms and various other locations are called out in the figure. Whereas in our next diagram, we have a logical topology where the notations are information related to the setup of the equipment. So we can see things like IP addresses, and perhaps these are funny symbols to you now, but you're going to learn about them. F0/1, F0/2 are fast Ethernet connections on the various servers, and we can see a G0/1, that is a gigabit interface on the switch S1, and it's going to connect over to an interface on router 1. Okay. And it looks like in this diagram they neglected to label the interface for this particular connection. So that's something we'd certainly fix if we were creating this network topology. So to end this discussion, I think we'll go through the little exercise here where we're going to drag a network component to the correct category, sort of as a review. So what is it that we learned about end devices? Were they the channel for messages? No, I don't think so. Did they provide an interface between the human and the network? That sounds reasonable. Because when we sit down in front of our computer, we are really using that device as our liaison between our human brain and sending data across the network. To provide a channel for the messages, I think you will recall that that is the network media. And then lastly, providing connectivity and ensuring that the data flows correctly is helped by the intermediary devices. So if we check at this point in time, those answers were correct. Now we're brought on to phase 2 of this little assignment, where we are going to drag a network component to its correct category. So it's a matter of identifying which are the end devices, which are intermediary, and what constitutes network media. So let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Here we have, looks like the local area network media. We have that, what looks like that DNA strand, which was for the wireless, and the wide area network. Okay. So that looks like we've taken care of the network media. So let's look at intermediary devices. Those are the devices that use to help us choose the pathway through the network. So we can figure a switch will help us do that. A router will help us do that. A layer 3 switch will help us, as well as a wireless router and the firewall. That looks like all the intermediary devices to me, and thus the IP phone, laptop, a desktop, tablets, printers, and some type of teleconferencing device will all be interfaces between the human and the network. Let's check that. Looks good. And we have a phase 3 where we're going to actually label these devices. I think we already know what they are. We talked about them already. So LAN media was down with the dark line. We can identify a tablet, and we can identify a firewall appliance. Printer's pretty easy to find. Our standard router. A multi-layer switch, I called that a layer 3 switch. We have wireless media. Don't get confused with the wireless router. That's the wireless media. A desktop computer. Wide area network media. Here's the IP phone, laptop, a local area network switch, and then we have the wireless router, and what we're told is a telepresence endpoint. That was what I called it, like a conferencing device. And that looks like everything is now labeled. So let's check. And hey, good for us. Correct. We've successfully matched the network component names to the icons. And I'll just let that sit there momentarily so that you can absorb it and know the correct answers. And hopefully I'll be able to do a few of these short videos throughout the semester that will complement your reading and the assignments that you're working through. See you next time.